What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys are the not version 0.20 patch notes. These are the version 1.0 patch notes. This is the full release of Predecessor, leaving open beta, becoming a full game, and we are going over the patch notes. This is the patch. This goes live on the 20th of August, which is Tuesday, and it's pretty cool. I briefly glanced through these. We'll go over them all together. Zinx is the new hero coming. She is primarily a support. I'm guessing you can maybe play her in other roles, but she is primarily a support. You can watch the hero overview. I'll link to these patch notes like down below somewhere. And if you guys want to stop and read anything, you can, of course, pause the video, but you can go read them yourselves. You can watch this ability overview. Her passive is when you hit people with abilities or autos, you gain stacks at 5 stacks, you gain a bunch of move speed, and you gain increased healing for 5 seconds. And then it goes on cooldown. Auto attack, her Q is her ricochet. This is just her ricochet stun. This is the same thing she had in Paragon. You throw it out. If it hits someone, it will stun them, and then it'll bounce to other targets and stun them as well. Her E is bad medicine. This is her replacement to the carpet that she had in Paragon. This is an AoE, so you can see it here. Stop. It's a little AoE. She tosses it out. It does damage and slows when it hits the ground. And then after a delay, it explodes and it does damage and slows again. For her right click is Infuse. This is a point and click heal to an ally. It heals a lot more based on missing HP. So lower health allies will get a little more healing off of this. Cooldown late game, really low, by the way. So just keep that in mind. Like, this character late game is going to essentially be Narbash. So just something to keep in mind. But then this ability, this is her right click. It has a passive, which in Paragon, Zinx had a toggle that allowed you to do dot damage. This is a passive in this game, and it's linked to her right click. So her basic attacks do bonus damage over 3 seconds. I'm not sure if this stacks or if this is a replenishing effect. If this stacks, then you're going to play her as a damage dealer in the mid lane. It's going to be really good. 15% scaling is a lot. If it doesn't stack, then her damage potential is pretty limited. Her damage on her other 2 abilities are pretty low. So it'll be a little limited if you want to play her as a damage dealer. And then her ultimate, for anyone who plays Smite, is Khepri ultimate. You target somebody. You can either target yourself or an ally. And then if they die during that time, they get resurrected with this much HP based on the level of the ability. While they have the mark on them, while you're ulting them, they do gain move speed as well. So it's a cool kit. She's a support. I think you may, again, if this, it's dependent on this. If this stacks, if you can get multiple stacks of this on somebody at one time to be damaging them at the same time, then you can play her, my guess, as a hybrid mid laner, as like a support mid. But if it doesn't stack, you don't do any damage and you can't play her in the mid lane. Moving on, store news. Amber. Now you're going to be able to buy Affinity with Amber, and you'll also be able to buy a couple of bundles with Amber as well. Skins. Zinc skin. Recolor thingy. It's a little extra, but it's a recolor. Getting into Undertow skins. This is the patch. We've been waiting for the Undertow skins for a long time. They're finally here. Richter, Fang Mao, and Gideon's are legendary skins. These all have custom, recall animations. All of the ability effects are custom, that kind of thing. They're really cool skins. And then Xeris, Rampage, and Grux are getting rare skins. So these will not have ability effects on them. They will just be the normal ability effects, but the skin is obviously what you guys see here. So little lower rarity, allow everyone to try and get their hands on an Undertow skin, whether or not you can get the legendary ones or the rare ones. I think they all look pretty good. Bundles. These are just like bundles for all the skins and stuff coming out. You guys can stop and look at that if you really want to. Gadget gets her midriff skin back if you link your account. From what I've heard, this is really easy. It'll just be a button in the game. You click the button, it says link your account, you enter an email. Now your account is linked. Lumen Undertow and Hunter Shadow Ops Twin Blast. This is kind of like, they try to keep this a little coy. this is a PS4 and an Xbox skin, right? This is really common for when games go full release. If they're on PlayStation and Xbox, they'll have a PlayStation skin and they'll have an Xbox skin. So this one is blue. I'm assuming it's a PlayStation skin. This one is green. I'm assuming it's an Xbox skin. How you get these, we don't really know yet. We'll find out more when we get there. Ranked mode. We are not getting 24/7 ranked mode, which I am a little sad about, but it is what it is. If there are a lot of new people playing, my guess is that they would expand it to 24/7 ranked fairly quickly, but we'll have to see. They do open it up a little bit. EU going to 14 hours on the weekends and 11 hours on the weekdays. NA gets an extra hour, so we get 15 on the weekend and 12 hours on the weekdays. So it's still open more than half the time. A little more, just over half the time, okay? But it's still open about half the time, which, again, if you're someone who can't play during that time slot like that, it is a real bummer, but it is expanding a little bit. Account linking. You'll be able to, again, you can link your account to the mailing list to get the gadget skin. You can link to Twitch in order to get Twitch drops. Twitch drops are coming with the newest patch. It is, again, on the 20th is when Twitch drops will start, to my knowledge. It's starting on the patch day. It'll be pretty cool. Twitch drops will be available on my channel if you guys want to get them. Twitch.tv/Pinzo, links in the description, that kind of stuff. You guys can go watch, get your Twitch drops, link your account, stop by the stream. You know, plug. Moving on, role select improvements. This is kind of the new draft screen where you pick your roles. It sort of like shows you where the things are, right? Duo lane is support and carry. Mid is the mage, right? Off lane's alone. That kind of thing. Again, you can stop and read this word for word if you want. There, you can see on this picture, it is locked for fill in jungle. These are, you click a button to unlock these, essentially. They're not like actually locked if your like account level is low enough or something like that. That's not how it is. They're locked to begin with. You have to manually unlock them because they are considered the more challenging roles in the game. So they don't want people on their first game to just willy-nilly pick them, which kind of makes sense. But again, to unlock these, you basically just click them and they unlock, and then you can select the role. It is locked to kind of de-incentivize brand new players from picking that role. Draft improvements, new draft screen. It is what it is. I don't have any real strong feelings about this any which way. I think it looks fine. You can see they kind of separate this. Assassin, like, you know, you're looking at mid lane, assassins versus mages, stuff like that. I'll have to look at it in game before I truly have an opinion here. Pre-match loading screens. This is just like a little different loading screen. You get some like tool tips as you're loading in. You get to know what side of the map you're on, what game mode you're on, right? All this kind of stuff. It looks fine. Map improvements. They give us the map names. This is not the map name that I was told for the game. Okay, just to be clear. I was told that the map name was Twilight, but maybe that's something that is in the works. The 5v5 map is called the Sanctuary. So if you guys ever see Sanctuary changes or whatever, they mean the main 5v5 map. They talk about this a little bit. Again, so we knew that they removed the ceilings. They increased the foliage. That's epic. They've added a new tree in the rivers to provide protection and vision blocking. I need to see this in game really badly, because what it does for sure is that it means you can't see side lane fog walls by walking into the mid lane river, which is a big deal. That matters a lot. What it looks like, how much it blocks movement wise, all that kind of stuff, we got to see in game. Improved gameplay automation systems. These are things like auto buy, skill level, all that kind of stuff. Will just be a little clearer. You can see like it pops up your ability when it upgrades. When you base and buy an item, it pops up what item it buys. It's just to be a little clearer. Assist indicator. This lets you know that you got an assist. Assists in this game are really weird. So sometimes you just literally don't know you got an assist. Now you'll know. Comm wheel improvements. Of course, we know we're getting the voice added to the game. We are getting a couple new pings as well. You can see here, this is, I'm assuming, just the new page of this. Blink status, ult status, crest status. Really good pings to have. That's really nice. They also say that there are cooldowns to the voiceover. I don't know. Dude, just let people spam, in my opinion. There's a mute button there for a reason. The spamming, honestly, is kind of funny. especially when they get other voice packs in the game. There will definitely be voice lines that are going to be spammable, and me personally, I want to be able to spam them. So I don't know, not being able to spam, -1 point on the patch for me. In-game chat messages, so you'll get more messages. Like when you get an assist on somebody, it'll pop it up in the bottom in your little text box. It'll say, getting an assist on Soul Reaper gave you 45 XP and 55 gold or whatever. It'll say it down there, right? Or, killing Soul Reaper rewarded you with 1,000 gold and 500 XP. It'll say it in the little corner. Now you have a place to see all that kind of stuff. Post-match improvements. You can report people on the post-match screen now. That's pretty epic. I like this screen personally. It just shows you the matchups, right? Support, carry, mid. It just lines everybody up. I think it just looks pretty good. Twitch drops. This is big. Twitch drops are huge. I love Twitch drops. Again, you guys can come to the stream to get Twitch drops whenever you want. The drops will have Blueberry Punk Countess. I don't know if this is a highly anticipated skin. I've never heard of this skin before, but it does look pretty nice just from the art. It's just like a Countess, looks like a nice recolor. They're like kind of, they're kind of like subpar recolors, like Murdoch's like orange skin or Steel's banana skin. And then they're like good recolors. Okay, this looks like a good recolor. And then it sounds like there will be, where did they say it? They said it somewhere in here, right? It said like along with something else, didn't it? I don't know. I thought it said along with like a profile banner and this skin alongside a spray and a profile icon. Okay, yeah. Will be exclusive to Twitch drops. Go to Twitch, hit the follow button, watch me go live. Additional features, tutorial, attack range text, mini map size options. This is really nice. Targeting visual improvements. Hopefully this. I would like this to make it so that when you don't get hit by an ability visually, it doesn't hit you. I don't care if the abilities need to be visually bigger or what. I just don't want to get hit by stuff that doesn't hit me. Code redemption, achievements, stuff like that. Balance changes. So we'll get into this. We'll skip over some of these minion things. They make minions faster. This one actually matters, okay? This one does make it easier to end the game because you spend less time waiting on minions after you killed 5 people at the 20-minute mark and you're trying to run it down. Now you don't have to wait 25 seconds for your minions to walk anywhere. The minions get a little tankier. Towers get a bug fix. Jungle minions. These, generally speaking, just get easier to clear. They are a little bit less tanky all around. So you should be able to clear a little bit better. Hero changes. Argus gets a buff, which is wild to me. Argus gets a cooldown decrease on his particle shredder. It goes from 6 seconds level 1 to 5 seconds level 1, which is just kind of crazy. I think this is like borderline. I would say he's probably the number 2 mid laner right now behind Gadget, but still, I think buffing this character is actually crazy. But they're buffing him, so there you go. Aurora gets a bit of a nerf. She gets a couple of nerfs. Her ult damage gets nerfed, and then her Q gets her wall, gets a cooldown decrease, but the cooldown starts when the ability ends, and the ability lasts 5 seconds. So this is 1 second off the cooldown, but if you leave the wall up for the maximum duration, this is essentially plus 4 seconds to the cooldown. So there you go. Countess. She gets a couple of bug fixes to her Q where, like, if you got CC'd while you're trying to teleport back, it would just cancel it and you couldn't go back anymore. That was a pretty bad bug. That gets fixed. Crunch, slight base stat increases. Decker, damage nerfs all around. Drongo, also damage nerfs. His passive damage goes down. His ult damage goes down. These are good. This character's OP. Bang Mao gets some nerfs to his mana economy, but then gets a damage buff to his hamstring. This should, again, they say it here, it should make him worse in offlane and better in jungle. Because for those of you that don't know, in the jungle, when you have the hunt item, just attacking minions, jungle minions, gives you mana back. So you don't have to have a lot of mana regen to keep all your mana in the jungle. So it should make him a little worse in offlane, a little better in jungle. Gadget gets some pretty hefty nerfs here. Her shield, her passive shield, goes from 30-second cooldown to 45-second cooldown level 1. That is crazy. This is like the biggest nerf I've ever seen Omega give to anybody, which is crazy. Q, her sticky mine, her hat gets a damage nerf. Her E gets a damage nerf. Her right click gets a damage fix. This is pretty much the same amount of damage, but before it was only doing 9 ticks of damage, and now it's doing 10. So they reduce the damage a little bit, but it should be pretty similar. And then the cooldown goes up a little bit. Her ultimate, less damage, higher cooldown. This character, again, this character is pretty broken, so I like that they're nerfing her. Gideon, a similar bug fix to Gadget right click, where it was only doing 9 ticks of damage instead of 10. So they nerf the numbers, but because it's doing an extra tick now, you can see like the total nerfs are like 15 damage and 1% scaling. So like it's a bug fix. It does the same amount of damage over 10 ticks as it did before over 9. There you go. Greystone actually gets some buffs here. He gets his E, his stim, his slow, gets a scaling increase. Keep in mind this hits 3 times, so this is 15% scaling increase, which is quite a bit. His jump, for those of you that don't know, if you hit an enemy hero with it, the cooldown gets reduced. That is going up. The damage radius is increasing. And then his ultimate gets a bit of a cooldown increase late game, but that's not too bad. That doesn't matter as much. These other buffs are actually pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. This could make Greystone. I think Greystone's kind of a sleeper character right now. I don't think he's super good, but I do think he has a couple of very playable matchups. And they're buffing him, so that's good. Grim.exe gets some just like all-around nerfs here. This character is still really, really strong. They're finally nerfing him more. I think the last round of nerfs was good. It made him harder to play, but now they're just nerfing him because he's still too good if you know how to play him. So damage nerfs all around. His E, his toggle gets the slow decreased early game. His bubble, little less lifetime. Good change there. Howitzer gets a little bit of a nerf here. His landmine trades some base damage for scaling. This is pretty linear in the change. And then his slow grenades get a little more of a slow. So a little bit of a buff to Howie, but nothing crazy. Polari, again, just a very small damage buff early game to her ultimate. Chimera gets some buffs here. Gets some decent buffs, actually. Base stat increases. His Q does more damage. His E, this is his heal, his cleanse. It gets more healing late game. And then the cooldown also goes down a little bit. Again, this character always struggles late game. So anytime they try to buff his late game is good. I just don't know how much this is going to help. And then his jump gets a bit of a cooldown reduction as well. Kira, another really good carry, looks like she gets some nerfs. Her Q, damage per stack goes down, total damage decreased. Her ultimate gets damage increased to it, so they're just pulling damage off of her Q, and they are putting it into her ultimate. This base damage late game, 120 base damage added to this, plus 15% scaling. That's not nothing. Right, like that's not nothing. So, who knows? Bellica, some small damage increases to her stun and her ultimate. Will make her better. Will it make her good? I don't know. Moragesh, she gets some changes. Like her passive damage goes down, but then the move speed from her E goes way up as you rank the ability. That's a pretty big change. Murdoch, health increased, armor increased. Uriel, damage decreased. Phase, her ultimate gives 5 more haste now. Okay. Ramp gets some changes. Anyone keeping up with tier lists or anything like that knows that Rampage is probably the worst character in the game right now, actually. His E gets its base damage increased. It gets its scaling way decreased, but then it gets damage based on maximum or bonus HP now. So that's pretty nice. It turns it into Richter's E. For those of you that don't know, Richter's little electrocute, his little zappy AoE, that does damage based on Richter's maximum HP as well as, like scaling and base damage. That is what Rampage's E also does now. The radius goes up a little bit too. That's epic. But yeah, so now building tank gives him a little bit of damage, and then his ultimate gets buffed on survivability, more HP, more regen. This will probably make him better. It can't make him worse, right? It's just buffs. It can't make him worse. The question is, does this give him enough stats to just be a stat checker? Like, when this character has too many stats, he presses R and he's unkillable. But then when he doesn't have enough stats, he presses R and he instantly dies and he's useless. So, like, it is a tough line on this character. Revenant, really small buffs to Revenant. Again, another pretty bad character. I wanted to see more buffs to him, but here we are. Richter and Sev both get increased attack speed to help them, like, last hit ends or something. I don't really know. Terra, damage nerfs all around. You can read them if you want. Her damage goes down. It's not crazy. Most of these are not big changes. Like on her Q, this is a 5 damage nerf, which, keep in mind, it hits twice. It hits 3 times if it's empowered. We're talking like 15 base damage. I don't think that's a crazy nerf. I think the character will still probably be pretty good. Twin Blast, armor buff. Wraith gets some buffs, I guess. I mean, again, it's like 5 damage on his snipe, a little bit of slow duration on his Q. It is what it is. Xerath gets a pretty big nerf to his ultimate at level 1. 15 seconds of increased cooldown is a lot. So, there you go. The character will still probably be fairly good, in my opinion, but that longer cooldown, it does hurt a lot early game. Getting into item changes. So the tank crests will evolve a little faster. This has always been like the biggest downside to picking tank crest, is that you don't get the crest online until the 20-minute mark, right? It's really hard to stack. Now you'll stack it easier. Brutalix, this is a cleanse item. It goes from 2.5-minute cooldown to 2-minute 15 cooldown, which is a pretty big change, actually. You got to be careful with this, because in combination, this combined with the fact that Liberator gets nerfed means that you could just have carries go Fighter Crest. Which, again, it's one of those where you're like, oh, but then they wouldn't get the carry crest stats. The carry crest gives like a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of power, and a little bit of lifesteal. And what does the Fighter's Crest give? It gives a little bit of power, a little bit of lifesteal, and then a little bit of HP instead of attack speed. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty linear. If they just wanted to go to the cleanse that has the shorter cooldown, I think you might see people doing that now. But we'll see. Anyway, Stasis gets a cooldown increase. Deserved. Stasis is OP. Witch Stalker gets the same treatment as Brutalix. I don't think you'll see this one picked up as much on carries, because I just think the base stats are a little worse. I think the 4% Omnivamp from Fighter's Crest is really important, versus you don't get any lifesteal off of Witch Stalker as a crest. Obviously, the active heals you a little bit, but you don't get lifesteal off of it. So I don't think you'll see people pick that one up. But I do think you might see Brutalix subbed in for Liberator for some carries. Moving into items. Nether Shard, this is the tier 2 of Spirit of Emir. Gets a little bit of it gets a cost decrease, power decrease, but then bonus damage to camps goes up. That's sick. Absolution, armor gets increased. Ashbringer gets a bit of a rework, so a lot less power, a lot less ability haste, but it has 30% attack speed on it, which is a lot. That's a lot of attack speed. So the base stats are pretty pitiful, but with how much attack speed it has, maybe you can run this on like Crunch now or something for a meme build. I still don't think you're probably buying this on most carries, but who knows. Nuke Rounds gets a stat readjustment as well. It costs less, it has more power, it has ability haste now, but it does not have mana or attack speed. Overall, I would call this a nerf, but I don't know. It's a buff to like ability Twin Blast and ability Wraith, right? But it's a nerf to any other carry that's building this. Resolution gets more attack speed. Sky Splitter gets its passive nerf. Stormbreaker gets a cost increase. Vanquisher gets a little bit of a nerf, plus a bug fix where it should actually execute people now when they take damage. So that's kind of sick. Most of these are kind of just whatever, just trying to bring these items down a little bit. Moving into assassin items, Dread, cost decrease. Envy gets a pretty big nerf here. The Silence goes from 45-second cooldown to 60-second cooldown. That's pretty big, but this item is still really good, and you're still going to buy it on Assassins, I promise. Infernum gets a change, so it does a little bit less damage. It does a little bit more damage from physical power, but you can no longer restack this while it's on somebody. So while somebody is burning from Infernum, you cannot proc Infernum on them. So Twin Blast Ult is the best example. You Twin Blast Ult somebody, it instantly stacks Infernum, and then the entire time you're ulting them, it's just it's essentially refreshing the Infernum. That won't happen anymore. When you Twin Blast Ult somebody, the first 4 bullets that hit will stack the Infernum, and then while the Infernum ticks, your ultimate will not apply more stacks of it. So it makes it a little bit worse. It makes it better at like short trades, worse at long trades. But I think the item on characters like Twin Blast, Wraith, etc. will still be good. Mind Razor, more power, less cleave, still a bad item. Nightfall, more lifesteal, bigger shield, still a bad item. Omen, cost decrease, still probably a bad item. I've been experimenting with Omen, and I don't think it's super good. Painted Trident, more ability haste. This one matters, actually. This is on Twin Blast almost exclusively. I think this is a pretty good item if you're going the ability build on Twin Blast. His ultimate uses Tainted Trident the best out of any character in the game. I think it's pretty good. This is a nice buff to it. I still don't think you're buying this on most assassins. Perforator, buff, very cool. Getting into fighter items, Augmentation gets a nerf, items OP. Berserker's Axe, same thing, this item's broken, gets a nerf. Draconum gets a little bit of a buff, actually. So the health that you regen when you kill somebody goes up a little bit. It's fine. I think the item is still situational at best, but it is a buff, so who knows. Earthshaker gets a stat readjustment. Health goes down, attack speed goes down, gains 10 haste. This is really big. This is what they didn't want to do to this item. They were obviously resistant to putting haste on this item. Otherwise, it would have had haste on it from the start because it would make sense for this item to have haste on it just based on what it does. So they were resistant to it. They were trying to make the item good without haste. They said, yeah, we know this item's only going to be good with haste. They readjust the stats, give it some haste. It'll be I think this will probably be a solid item now. Solid, not awesome, but solid. Legacy, cost decrease. Mist Meadow gets a similar treatment where they reduce the stats, but they gave it ability haste and removed the Omni Vamp. Overall, I would say this is probably a buff. I still think this item is really situational. Without Omni Vamp, it probably becomes more situational, to be honest, but I think it'll still be a solid enough item. Azure Core, nerf to the shield, needed, items OP. Spirit of Emir gets a buff, very cool. Soulbinder gets a buff. This buff matters, okay? This one, 50 units, it'll make stacking it a little bit more consistent. Maybe on like a character like Argus, this gets a little more consistent, or Bellica even. But 10% is crazy, because this is 10% bonus damage. So, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty nuts to me. So, 10% bonus damage now instead of 8%. Pretty big buff. Tainted Scepter, bit of a damage nerf. Who cares? Support items. These are basically all just cost decreases. I don't know what they're doing with just decreasing everything, but they are decreasing all the support items by like 100 gold-ish each. Some of them do get some stat changes here, as you can see, but for the most part, it's just like the cost goes down for support items. So we'll see exactly how much all of these matter. Like this, right? Like Tainted Totem, like 150 less gold and 5 more power. That's pretty nice, right? You might buy that now more often than you did before. Some of these Vanguardian, like 100 less gold doesn't make this a good item, right? You know, it's a mixed bag. Getting into tank items. Fire Blossom, damage increase. Void Helmet. That's not the name of the item, just to be clear. Void Helmet gets a magic armor increase of 5. And then we get into bug fixes. I didn't go through every single bug fix. There's a hell of a lot of them in here. If there are some of these that matter, just let me know. I'm not really going to sit here and read them. They talk about the bundles for console players. They basically say, we couldn't figure out what to do in time, so we are just going to remove the bundles from the game for now. They might come back for console players later. Who knows? And that is it. The full 1.0 patch notes. This video got a little long because these patch notes are pretty long. Like, this is actually a pretty beefy patch, so I'm excited to see what it does. The balance changes themselves aren't actually even that huge. Like, the item changes are good, but the balance, like the hero changes aren't crazy. But the amount of things that are being added in this patch, just all of this kind of stuff that's being added, is pretty nuts. So we'll have to see exactly what happens. But yeah, I will be there on the 20th. I'll be streaming it live. You guys will see it here on YouTube as well. So you guys can check it out both places. Stop by the stream to get your Twitch drops. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys. So patch goes live August the 20th, full 1.0 release. Everybody have fun. Be nice out there. If you guys see new players, just like do your best. Try not to flame. Help them out if you can. If you don't want to help them out, just don't be antagonistic. How about, if you want to be neutral, if you want to be a Switzerland guy, that's fine. Just don't be head to head with them. But that's all I've got for you guys. So as always, guys, I've been Pinzo. This video's done. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.